Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, today is the day. Those are my racing scales. As you can see, we're going to find out exactly what this thing weighs right now. As far as I'm aware, I've got everything sort of sorted here. Definitely put something down in the comments on stuff that I'm missing. I'm trying to look at this car and work out. I've just seen two things. I've seen my air compressor thingy and my 16-volt battery, which is pretty hefty, but they're known quantities. I know the weights of those things, so that's not so bad. So I can work out how much extra it is. Actually, I have a battery right here, so I will put that there to make up the weight for that. But other than that, I mean, it's basically, yeah, that air compressory thingy and some electronics in my shifter. I don't think I'm missing a lot else. Maybe like a brake booster and some hoses, but realistically, all that stuff's pretty negligible in terms of weight. So, yeah, I've got everything on here. I've got some rotors because there's only an empty engine there, so I don't have eccentric shafts, so that's a little bit of weight there too. I've got all the oils and fluids. I've got the fuel. I've got my tail shaft. I've got all the tin work for the tubs, which is, they're going to get cut basically in half, but I've got the full weight there. Those rotors are dummying for calipers. I've got my, the Shockworks coilovers are in there. You can barely see through this old gross Lexan. They're back there. So was the rollover, anti-roll bar, sorry. Tunnel, everything's in, Kirky seats in, nitrous, etc. I've even got extra calipers and a brake booster over there and that. So I reckon it's just time to not waste your time and have a look at how much this thing weighs. Now, before we do look, remember, class weight of this car is 2,100 pounds with driver. So that means this car has to weigh at its minimum 2,100 pounds. Sorry, I'm not going to talk in kilograms because everything race car drag racing that is spoken about in the Imperial still. So, you know, they'll say your ride height has to be 3 inches and, you know, it's a 60 foot, 330 foot, 660, etc. markers. Weight is in pounds, speed is in mile an hour, and sorry, that's just how it is. So before I get in the car, here it is. As you can see, 4 pads there. We have, I'm just touching it there, sorry, 1,904 pounds. So I can't remember how heavy that car is without me in it. I never consider weights without me in it because it's useless. I mean, I have to be in the car to race it, so why would you weigh it without you? Same with when you corner weight it. You corner weight it with the driver because it has to be corner weighted how it's going to get driven. But all right, let's just step onto the scales, I guess. I'm not gonna, there's no handbrake and no tail shafts. There's nothing to stop this rolling backwards. So I'm just gonna put my weight on it here. Look at my safety Crocs. And oh my God. So I don't have the battery on it yet. So let's put the battery on it and just get the last bit of exacto weight of it. So battery right there, very safe, sitting right next to a big 20-litre drum full of methanol. But we're all good as long as it doesn't arc. Let's stand up here again. Now, I'm not worried about corner weights or anything, obviously, because half the rear end isn't in at the moment and stuff like that. But man, I would say 2,130 pounds with me in it. I would say, I don't know how much. I mean, is there 20 pounds in electronics? Maybe. I've probably got, I've got the parachute and electronics, so maybe, I would say this is going to be a 2,200 pound car. So that is incredible. All right, ooh, jump down. That is right. So yeah, 2,200 pounds, basically. Let's say that. This thing weighs 26-ish. Let me just feed these numbers into a quarter mile calculator and give people an understanding of what weight does in terms of vehicle ET. All right, so if you remember, that car ran an 829, but it was dead through half of second gear and a significant portion of third gear as well. The half track, it was dead even before half track. Not dead, but it was down. One of the rotors was misfiring. One was sort of cleanish in that, so it was probably down 20% horsepower, at least 25% horsepower. I know the 330 foot, 60 foot, 330 foot mark was basically on to run a 7.9 something, more than likely, or even in the 780s, but definitely 790. When it went to half track, even though it was sort of coughing and spluttering before half track, the half track time, when you estimate what it would run full track, the half track time was even still on for a low 8.1, like an 8.11, 8.12. It ended up going an 8.29. So even if I say feed all these calculations in the quarter mile calculator, 2,600 pounds, which is what this is, it's a little bit more, but say 2,600 pounds at 950 horsepower, comes out at about an 815, 815. So say it's making 950 horsepower right now. 2,600 pounds, 950 horsepower, runs at 815. Realistically, probably runs at like 8.0 pretty much. So what that means is a car that runs 815, so it's probably making like 980 horsepower or something, but a car that runs 815 that weighs 2,600 pounds and makes 950 horsepower, that's what that is. This at 2,200 pounds with the same horsepower, remember, same engine combo, you just take your engine combo, take your horsepower, put into that. ET calculator says it runs like a mid 760. 815, 760. That is huge. And anyone that's got like a car that runs 820s, if they're trying to run 790s, you just ask them how hard. People just think it's like, oh, it's just a 0.2, 0.3 of a second, just go a bit faster. It is, once you start going faster than say like an 850, it starts getting really hard to go faster and faster and faster. So, a car that runs like a 750, you always see it on people like the big influencer go drag racing, like, oh mate, Cletus and that. You'll see his fans in the comments always like, this car's going to run a 5 when it's running like a 750 or something. It's like, drag racing does not work that way, all right? To run like if your car runs a 750, to go a 699, if it's set up where if everything was absolutely right and spot on and et cetera, it could run maybe a 699. It is so hard to actually run that time. So guys with horsepower to spare when they're running 9.0 can run probably 8.0 quite easily. But when you're at the absolute scraping the bottom of the barrel of everything with your setup and chassis and tire size and things like that, it is so hard to get that last little bit out of it and go that much faster. And then you've got aerodynamics and stuff like that. Once cars start going really fast, is a massive factor. You have to make so much more horsepower to push your way through the air, basically. So to just change nothing else except I'm going to go from that car that's heavy to that car that's light and drop realistically close to like 4 to 5 tenths of ET is huge. Now remember, I said 950-ish horsepower. That's it. Like this thing has, the engine that's set up in this has so much more to give, so much more to go. So, and that's why people might look at this and go like, oh, why did you put like floaters and that's so expensive. Why would you put that in? Well, the legalities behind drag racing in Australia means that once the car goes faster than 750, you have to have a floater rear end. So if I can already take how fast that car's run and just put the running gear in this car, it's going to go almost that fast when I need floaters. So it would be a dumb move to make a cheaper diff than just have to put floaters in it anyway. So that's killer. I was hoping this car was going to weigh around 2,300 pounds or something like that. Fingers crossed. I hoped it was going to be like maybe 2,250. I didn't really think it was ever going to be anywhere near 2200 or less. So that's killer. I mean, the auto's so heavy, you know, they're just big bricks basically. I've got stuff all over my face because I've been obviously out here doing work. This is great. This is killer. Could have hoped for a better result, really. I mean, I'm putting big heavy steel tubs in it and things like that. So I mean, realistically, and this is the kind of thing, like, just say this car one day, you know, I want to push that extra bit, you know, you can go fiberglass doors, fiberglass guards, carbon rear tubs and things like that, or something like, you know, if you want to take those last little bits out. But again, I mean, it's funny you say their budget, whose budget, whatever, but this is a car that's built on a budget of, you know, just a regular dude in a garage, you know. I'm building the car myself, so that's killer. I don't know, there's not much more to say other than I'm working in the dark because one of these lights has failed and it trips the breaker every time now, so I'm working on these lights only. Awesome. So that's another job for the holidays. I'll have to get like a scissor lift in here to find out which light's dead and get a new one. But yep, that's killer. That is yeah, couldn't have hoped for a better result, really. So that's awesome. All right, let's run through some of the little things I've been working on too in the intro. Sorry, I've obviously got everything in the way, but basically I have the shocks in and a shock bar. These had tiny little tack welds on it that I knew weren't going to hold, and they absolutely didn't. I popped the bar straight off. But anyway, I've put some diagonals in. I can't remember if they were done last time or not. And I have done, this. So this is a partial funny car cage, essentially. Oh, I've still got one bar to go, obviously. But yeah, that's what that is. I don't know if I've had the diff. I'm going to go over the diff. I probably haven't even had the diff and the forelink in. I'm going to go over the diff in a separate video one day because John Taverna Chassis did this for me, because this is the stuff that you definitely should have a pro doing, and it is an absolute work of art, except for the stuff that I welded, like these brackets. But they welded their machine hubs on and stuff like that, and here's floater stuff from Race Products is killer. But yeah, everything is in there. Yeah, well, let's go over the funny. Obviously, safety first, of course, as they say. I'm probably going to add a couple of other bars in still. I don't know if I'll add the big bar from basically the rear forelink bar all the way to the front firewall. I'm pretty sure you can, so you can run a 2x3 strengthening member or whatever. I don't know if I want to run a 2x3 RHS. It's not bloody, this has got steel, you know, it's got chromoly tube in it, not bloody this. I think that rule was for RX-3s. A couple of, you know, guys with probably RX-3s petitioned the rules to say, hey, our floors are made out of balsa wood, and so are the chassis rails. Can we put something in there along them that's not full chassis, obviously, to strengthen it? And the rules are fine. It says it has to be welded to the floor or whatever. And that. So I'm just going to ask Jamboree if I can just use chrome moly tube that runs from the front bent up to there, and that is then joined to the floor. Also wouldn't mind joining it out to the sides of the floor, just so side impact, massive amount of extra strength there. So I'll sort that out still, which is why this big tube in here was for when I was just weighing the car there, to account for a fair bit of that weight. And then yeah, in terms of funny car cage, I've definitely done the back part. Now the part that's missing, so to speak, is the other bar that runs from here up to here, and the other one that goes from like up here across and then hoops down, and then it joins back here. Now, I think I can do this one here, however it normally goes, like that. But this big one that runs over here and bends down, this roll cage is already built, and I'm not sure I can actually get the TIG torch in high enough to weld it. So I'm gonna have to think about that, if I do it or not. I mean, I've already obviously done, this is more than what the minimum requirement to run 700, 699 basically is for this. You know, if you're watching this in the US, once you run like quicker than 850, you have to basically almost freaking build a chassis car. In Australia, you can run like 699 with a basic 6-point cage pretty much. You do have to have floaters, like I was talking about, 750, but there's not much else. So the core of the cage is right to go to 7, basically, 7. And now I'm just adding in extra safety things for my benefit. Yeah, I'll have to see if that hoopy thingy, if I can actually weld it, because there's one thing for wanting to do it, and there's another thing for it being able to actually get in there and weld in there and that. So I don't know if I'm going to do any more chassis bars. Let me have a look at what we've got. That one bracing from there to there. I don't know if I'm going to do any more. Obviously, I had to take the floor out in just this section. I'll put the floor back in, but you know, obviously there's bars going everywhere, and this sits higher than where the factory floor was. So I just have to weld the factory floor back in higher, or a floor back in here higher, or whatever. But all the factory floor is still in there past front of the cross member, which is all that matters. And yeah, this is sort of where it's sitting now. Not at the front because I've got big old front runners up there, but this is where it's sitting now, which is killer. I am working out what front runners to put on this. So I want this car to sit as low as possible. These are 26-inch tall front runners. I can get some 24.5 from what I can see from those sort of the old school RX-7s that are racing overseas and that run like 28 10.5 W rears and that. So similar same size height tire in the rear as mine, and those things sit really low in the front. They run a 23-inch tall tire. I've got a 7-inch rim. I've got FD brakes, and from what I can tell, I can't fit a 15-inch wheel on the. From what I remember, that's why I've got 7 inch in the front. I can't fit a 15-inch wheel on those brakes, so I have to stick with the 17. I've basically found two options. The first is a Nankang, as well as an Outlaw drag tire, whatever. I don't know who makes those, but basically both of those are like 24.5-inch tall. And then Connor Fakinos sent me a picture just now, literally, of the front tires off his 1300 that's been like almost 190 mile an hour, and they're literally like rubber bands. It's like comes out at forget what it was now. It was like a 165 740 17, and comes out to like 22.5-inch high. So I'm thinking I might go that, even though they are. I'd be worried if the car does a decent wheel stand coming down, what it would do to the actual wheel, because there ain't much tire between the wheel and the track, but it would help the car sit super, super low. So it's not like you can get drop spindles or something for these kind of things and that, but you know, you want to get that nose down. You can see here basically already as it is. I mean, yes, you've got that pad there, but there's a lot of gap between the road and the front there. So I want to get that. Shit, what have we got here? We've got a good old Imperial tape measure. So I think these things are 2.5 inches. So I think 2.5 inches, that's 11.5 inches. So right now where it's sitting with the 26-inch tall tire, still 11 inches off the ground. Now, granted, there's probably an inch to go, get some camber, and there's probably an inch in there, but I mean, that's still, you know, that's then 8 inches off the deck. If I can get a 22-inch tall tie instead of 26, that's another 2 inches lower. So now that suddenly becomes, 6 inches off there. And then if you can lower it, maybe you can play around with something, lower another inch and get it to like 5 or something. But realistically, I mean, the minimum height you're allowed is 3 inches. We want it like absolutely as low as possible. So I think I'll get some of those rubber band tires, and I'm not so good with the camber or the caster, and I think I need camber plates anyway. But if you see where this, it might be hard to see in the camera, if you see where this is lined up, and if you see on this side, definitely sticking out a bit more here. For whatever reason, I need to get those camber caster plates. It's only by about 1/4 of an inch or something, but it's sticking out that side more by like 1/4 of an inch or whatever. So next steps are basically, it's not tacked in anymore. I'll get that chromoly bar out and TIG weld all that off the car. Then I'll weld it back in the car properly. Then once that's in, I'm going to start with the tubs. So yeah, I got no idea what I'm doing. I just do it, and then if I fuck it up, I'll just do it again. So who cares? So this is 1.2 mil. Wanted like a little bit of strength back here after cutting some stuff, all the factory ones out of there, but I wanted something that would bend. So I probably could have gone for 1 mil, at least in this. This is the big arch. I probably could have gone for those, but I got 1.2 in this and I got 1.2 in that. So these will get welded up here. And then I got some angle iron just to bend around the tub to give it some, to help with giving this some shape when I'm welding it in place and give it some strength. So I'll put some inside, I'll put some of that angle around here, and then I'll put some on the tub in there. And yeah, I didn't actually think that's something what anyone would do, and then I started looking at ideas, and I come up with a plan on how to do it first, and then I actually researched on how other people have done it, which I absolutely should have done the other way around. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, so why would I have just thought I knew what I was doing without looking first? That's why YouTube exists. So anyway, after I did look at how other people are doing it, people who look like they can weld, unlike me, like actual fabricators, were doing it like this. So I was pleasantly surprised to find out that my brain obviously somewhat works when it comes to fabricating things or fabricating ideas. So I can come up with concepts in this. I can cut bars and notch stuff out. That, not a fantastic welder because I don't do it. So that's where I guess I let down my fabrication, so to speak, is the actual application of the fabrication and the stuff that people see. So, but yeah, I think pleasantly surprised. That should do us for today. I'll start chopping this up, and you might be seeing this live on YouTube within the next hour or so. All right, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.